Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was Justice League's Fire Shadow. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. With the heroes. Diana thought it over and looked at the assembled heroes, with Naruto seemingly silent as he decided to let her make her decision. She looked at Naruto, who was still wearing his mask, and decided to work with the ninja. After all, there were some questions pertaining to him, and she was not willing to work with Flash due to her unease at his actions, nor was she sure that working with Green Lantern was a good idea, as both of them were not on the best of terms. She then replied, as she knew that the longer they delayed, the quicker the Imperium were going to get to accomplishing their goal. I will work with the Hokage. Flash gave a sigh of disappointment while Naruto raised an eyebrow behind his mask. Sure, he was happy to be with a drop-dead gorgeous woman who by all rights be called a divine beauty, but he was not expecting it to happen that early. But who was he complaining anyway? They had a lot to deal with and not enough time to do it in. He still had his senjutsu senses on, and already the effects of the factories could be felt. And longer they were left to rock, then things were going to get a lot harder from here on out. He placed those thoughts aside for now as he replied, "I'm alright with that." That man decided to work with them. He knew that the Hokage and Diana had a point, even if John had given them information about the invaders, the loss of the nerve gas, and any way to replicate it was a serious blow. The factories might hold the key, as he too felt that the Hokage's comments about the aliens using factories held water. I'll go with both Diana and Hokage. If there is any way to find information on how to beat the aliens without John's nerve gas and the plant samples, I'll need access to a factory and find what I can. John nodded and replied, "I shall assist this team as well. I have learned enough of the technology of the Imperium, so I can locate it." It seemed that all was settled until John spoke to them. "Hold it, you guys happen to make up the largest team around. Are you sure that going in that large a group's a good idea?" Naruto had a very accurate idea on why John would say that, but in his mind, this was about right. This was the usual team composition back home in Konoha. 1 Jonin sensei, 3 Genin or at times Shunin, and he was comfortable with the idea. Besides, this team looked a lot more promising, and he was not in the mood to be trading word barbs with Green Lantern, not with the survival of the world on the line. We're ready for it. John's got the first-hand knowledge, Batman's got the brains and skills, Diana here is more than ready, and for me, I'm alright with this. Besides, you, me, and Diana are not on very good terms anyway, so working with you is not going to be a good idea. John thought about arguing a bit more, but decided not to bother with that for now. He decided to grab Flash despite the red-wearing superhero's obvious protests. And Superman as well as Hawkgirl headed off to do their part. Their target was the factory being set up in Metropolis, while Flash and Green Lantern directed their attention to the one in Asia, namely in Indonesia. As soon as the two other teams fanned out, Naruto decided to focus his senjutsu senses once more, and spoke to the others. "There's another factory in Egypt, though that one's not well set up yet from what I can sense. That might be a good place to start." That man raised an eyebrow at that and made his confusion clear. "How do you know that?" Naruto chuckled a bit and replied, "Sorry, but I am not going to say, but I can assure you that I am right on saying that they also are setting up somewhere in the desert area of that nation I just spoke of. Why they aren't moving as fast in Egypt might have something to do with the fact that it's morning over there in Egypt." That man looked at his watch briefly, and knew that the Hokage was correct, since it would already be morning there in Egypt, and if the creatures are indeed nocturnal, they would have more slower there than here in the area of Metropolis. This meant that they had to hurry and exploit this before they found a way to block the sun. En route to Egypt. John was currently ahead of the team, as his telepathy was able to reach ahead of them to allow him to confirm that Naruto was right. There was indeed a factory located in Egypt, but due to it being in the area where it was already morning, the aliens were not able to set up in time. Naruto was not in the bat jet, as he was sitting on the wing once more, using his chakra to hold himself in place. That man did not move too fast, as he was still not sure that whatever method Naruto was using would help him in holding on. In John's case, he was curious on how the Hokage would perform in the mission that was before them. The young man was highly skilled in the Martian's mind, and the powers he had already displayed was surprising. There was no doubt in the last Martian's mind that there were a lot of secrets in him, but he knew that it was not his place to go around and ask questions. They had a more serious matter for them to focus on. And that was to prevent the invaders and their leader the Imperium from destroying this world. As for Diana, she was flying next to the Hokage, and while she wanted to speak to him, ask him some questions, she decided that now was not the right time. They had a war to fight, and there would be time for such questions later. En route to Indonesia. Flash was not the least bit happy, as he and Green Lantern were on their way to engage the alien forces in Indonesia. He had hoped to be with either Diana and Hawkgirl, but now her was with the man who he felt was a real stick in the mud. "You're no fun." John looked back a bit and sighed as he hoped that this was not going to turn into a shouting match. We're not here to have fun. We have to do our job and finish it before all of this goes straight to hell, you got me? Yeah, I get you. Both heroes moved on with Flash moving over the water without much problems as he was going at full auto. As for Superman and Hawkgirl, they were now reaching the city of Metropolis, and there was no doubt that the invasion was really going all out. The factory was already there, and Metropolis looked like it was when Darkseid and his forces were coming in to invade Earth itself. But they knew that they had to hold on and focus on the job before them. In the deserts of Egypt, Naruto was currently with Batman and Diana, hiding from the patrolling machines that the enemy had unleashed much earlier to secure the site. Only difference was that the machine seemed to be limiting its movements. No doubt it was trying to stay close to the alien factory to keep it from being harmed. Diana was not very happy with all the hiding, which was something he could understand, since when he was young, hiding was not exactly one of his favorite moves. Hiding from the enemy is not the way of the Amazons. Naruto turned and replied as Batman was currently looking at the walker and the factory intently. Well, you have to get used to it, Princess Diana. We're going to need the element of surprise here until we get a clean way in. It was here that John finally appeared along with a pair of Naruto's released Kage Bunshin, and Amarian spoke to the others. There is no sign of an entrance that we can use to infiltrate the factory. Diana decided to make the move as she got a rope and moved forward in flight. Then we make our own. Bruce was about to go after Diana when Naruto stopped him with a hand on his shoulder and spoke to him. I don't think that talking to her is a good idea. She's wanting to blow off some steam, so let her or she might take offense. Besides, I need to see what she can do with that golden rope of hers. Batman decided to watch and see if the blonde was right, and sure enough it was a fairly accurate move, as Diana proved to be a real powerhouse. The woman took her lasso, while dodging the walker's energy weapon, and then came back to rope the thing on one of its legs, wrap the rope around it, and drag it down hard. Naruto whistled a bit. The strength was pretty much up there, and he briefly was pleased that neither Tsunade or Sakura had that level of strength. Still, he liked what he saw, and it seemed to impress Batman enough that he did not comment further on the matter. The fact that the crashing walker helped in shattering the wall of the factory was a good bonus. Diana turned and spoke out to them as she quickly gave the walker a serious hit that seemed to tear into the armor, and the sunlight seemed to cripple it, as its inner self was exposed. There. Now we have our opening. As he and the others went in to join Diana, they were greeted by the arrival of some of the aliens who fired at them. Diana blocked their attacks with her bracers, and soon some of the roof fell off. Diana looked at the aliens as the light of the sun filtered in as the aliens retreated. That was something that offended Diana, since the thought of running away from a battle was a sign of a coward, and despite her pacifistic nature, she did not tolerate cowardice. She turned to the others and spoke to them. We cannot wait forever, they are retreating like cowards. Naruto was quick to notice the sheer terror the aliens had at the beams of sunlight. They might not have anything resembling a face, and they certainly were not human, but Naruto learned enough in his long life to know that fear can be see-through physical reaction. He turned to Batman and saw that he too saw the reaction of the aliens, and he too was surprised and interested. Both of them nodded, and they were soon following John and Diana, as John knew the situation more than the others. In Indonesia, the situation for Flash and Green Lantern went down the wrong way. Flash, in a display of eagerness to get the mission done, quickly rushed in to attract the attention of the aliens. Much to Green Lantern's annoyance, as he tried to stop the speedster from doing something outrageously foolish and foiling the mission. However, it was not long before Flash's actions came back to bite him in his red-covered butt, as he had stepped on some form of mine that was filled with a gunk that was less than nice to the nose, but enough to stop him cold. Now Green Lantern had to rescue him as the alien walkers were closing in, intent on either blasting the speedster into oblivion, or just plain skewering him. In Metropolis, Hawkgirl and Superman had some level of good luck as they were finally able to take down some of the walkers. The Thanagarian was able to use her mace to make sure that the walker could not get up. Superman then used a karate-style chop to cut one of the legs, and used it as an impromptu javelin to make a hole into the factory, and he turned to call to Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl, follow me. They walked in and Superman told her to keep her eyes open, to which she replied, I always do. It was not long before they came under fire from the aliens, and Superman was about to handle it, while telling Hawkgirl to stay back before the woman ignored him and charged in. The Kryptonian watched as the winged woman used her charged mace to bash the aliens around with considerable force, forcing him to duck when one flew overhead and was in a mess behind him. Whoa. He turned as Sheer spoke while walking ahead to lead the two. What? There's a time for words, and a time for action. Superman knew that there was truth to that statement, but he did not expect to see them taken that literally. But he decided not to comment just yet, as they still had a job to do, and he was still new to working with another hero. Back in Indonesia, Green Lantern was in a foul mood as he had finally freed Flash from most of the gunk that had held him captive, and he had managed to do so while getting himself and Flash away from the enemy, so he could free the speedster from the rest of the gunk, without being shot at by the alien walkers. He was not happy on how the mission was turning out, and there was the chance that they were going to have to pull back soon, before things got really difficult. Of all the boneheaded and reckless things to do, have you ever heard of the concept of teamwork before in your life? Maybe we should save the motivational speeches for later. Like when we're not being shot at. As soon as he was free, the two tried to get back into the fight, and while it seemed that they were finally getting somewhere, things took a turn for the worse. The alien walkers tried to take down Lantern's shield, but got nowhere until they fired a pod missile that released a powerful yellow gas that was some sort of tranquilizer drug. The weakness of the Lantern ring came to play as the gas bypassed the shield, and soon drove Green Lantern to the ground in an unconscious state. GL. Flash reached the downed Lantern using his speed to make his arms move the gas away, and saw that sticking around as more walkers came at them was a bad idea, as he quickly got the unconscious Lantern and hightailed it out of there. Their mission was a bust, and now they would have to hope that the others were doing a much better job than they were at the moment. Back in Metropolis, Superman and Hawkgirl moved deeper into the factory, and the Thanagarian was tense, holding her mace close to her, and she spoke seriously. They're close by, I can almost smell them. Superman was not too comfortable with the way Sheer acted and asked a question that was in his mind after seeing her decimate the aliens. He had worked with aggressive people in the past, but certainly no one this aggressive. Are you always this eager to fight? Sheer turned and replied stoically. My homeworld Thanagar is a warlike world, there it's either you strike first, or you die. Superman's reply to that was cut short as the aliens came back for more, but they retreated. Superman wondered why, but got the answer as the tunnel was suddenly sealed in front of him and Hawkgirl and then behind them. They were soon hit by gas, and Hawkgirl was down as she was trying her best to recover from the sudden release of gas in the room. Hang on, Hawkgirl. I larg. Superman's attempt to rip open the door behind him was cut short, or massive amounts of energy were unleashed on him that forced him down. He was still injured, and he too was soon overtaken by the gas. Egypt. The group was moving fast and hard as the Hokage was now taking the lead, and was now better at killing the aliens. The chakra that he was feeding into his swords at a higher and more powerful amount helped augment the cutting power of his swords, made nearly effortless work on the alien forces as they were being cut down, and Naruto's Kage Bunshin, which he had sent ahead as recon units, fed intelligence on just where to hit, which he then fed to the others, and John confirmed his findings from his own prior battle experience. This was what made them focus on taking out the blonde Hokage, as he was soon making himself a serious target. That was a bad move on their part, and Naruto made that clear as he would attack them quickly and without hesitation. The others were also quick to aid him in the fight, now that Naruto had told them just where to hurt them, though that went to both Batman and Diana. Diana was not standing by as she used her bracers to block the shots of the aliens to render their attacks weaker, but she also did the same thing as before, to send the laser bolts right back at the shooters. Batman was not alone either, as he took out a special type of fist weapon that unleashed powerful blasts of electricity that allowed him to damage the ones who he was able to attack, while also using special explosive loaded batarangs to attack his own targets. John also used his ability to become intangible and invisible to ambush the aliens and take them down. But no matter how many times they fought through the aliens and their ambushes, the aliens continued to move in and attack the group, trying their best to herd the four heroes to a location that would be to their advantage. Naruto was getting a bit tired and felt himself begin to weaken, so he quickly deactivated his current Senjutsu mode and switched back to using his regular chakra and some of Kurama's own. It helped him recover quickly, and soon he was back to full tank. Diana came in and blocked the attacks that were being thrown at the Hokage as well as the others, but she was not pleased by the rapid approach of the aliens. They've cut us off again. It's like they already know just where we are. Batman spoke out as he readied a batarang and fired it at the enemy, as its explosive payload forced the aliens to break off and avoid being attacked. Naruto was quick to place one sword on his back, and switched to using several explosive tag-loaded kunai and shuriken to take out several other aliens, while feeding some of his chakra into the weapons and tags to increase their power. He focused a brief amount of his sage mode, and felt something alien in the structure and replied, "This entire place feels alive in an alien sort of way to me. I don't like it one bit, but if the fact that's like a twisted living structure is true, it must sense we're not its makers, and it's guiding them to us. We need to hurry before we get ourselves way in over our heads." Diana agreed with the blonde and readied herself to cover the others, but she knew that only John could help them, as he knew their foes better than they did. Batman thought the same thing and turned to John only to find that the Martian was currently still, and his eyes were glowing in a strange fashion, confusing Batman briefly until he shouts an order to try and snap the Martian out of whatever it was that was. "John." The glowing in the Martian's eyes faded away, and John spoke. "Superman and Hawkgirl are down, they have failed in their mission." Batman was surprised at that, and so was Diana. "What? Are you sure about that, John?" "Yes, but they are alive. No doubt the invaders plan to either torture them or feed on them." The two heroes were disgusted by that, and while his face was hidden by his chakra-enhanced mask, the Hokage gave a frown, as that made him recall the sight of the three scientists in the abandoned lab, and he did not like where that was going. He placed such thought aside as more aliens came at them, and John led them to another series of tunnels, saying that the core was in this direction. Diana and John then moved up another tunnel while he turned and fought off the aliens that came out from another chamber. He soon followed Batman as Diana covered their retreat as they moved into another room. The Amazon looked behind them and came back. We've lost them. For the moment we have. Batman switched to using a pair of knuckles that released high-strength voltage for close combat, while John took out his M90 for the close quarters bit as John called their attention. We're here. The group turned, and there was a cavernous room that had a number of the aliens moving about and using control panels, and what appeared to be some sort of chamber holding a large crystal inside what appeared to be some sort of gestation tank. This is the central core of the factory. Batman then spoke to the Martian as he could see that this was going to be the best place to finally take down the factory for good. How do we take it down? The crystal there in the chamber is the ion matrix crystal, which is the heart of the factory, and also the source where they can create the ion cloud itself. Removing that should shut down the factory and compromise it. I will need a distraction to get the crystal though. Naruto then moved to his favorite jutsu replied to that. Don't worry, one distraction coming up. Batman and the Hokage made their moves with the Dark Knight using a batarang to cut a nearby pipe that unleashed a wave of black fluid on the aliens underneath it. The Hokage and his summoned Kage Bunshin tossed out a large barrage of explosive kunai in rapid succession and sent several of the aliens flying, while Diana ripped out another cable, causing gas to hit the aliens, and the flames from the detonation of the explosive kunai also created a firestorm of destruction that caught the other aliens off guard. This was enough for John to move in by phasing to the location, while Batman, Naruto and his Kage Bunshin and Diana were under attack. The Amazon blocked the attacks, while Batman came in his usual way and used his taser weapon for the kill. Naruto fought the aliens with both his sword and some of his wind techniques, namely the same technique he had used in front of Lantern, while in a display of acrobatic prowess, without his father's specially made kunai of the Hiroshin Jutsu going down, and supported the Dark Knight from behind. Naruto then used his swords to cut down several aliens who tried to sneak up on Diana, and she smiled briefly at him for watching her back. John reappeared near the crystal chamber now that the distraction was in full effect. He took out the alien nearby, and quickly retrieved the crystal. The effects were quick as the factory began to shake and malfunction, but not before he was shot by one of the aliens. The last Martian was sent down to the ground and lost his grip on the crystal. John. Diana flew to his location after defeating her foes, and when she got there, Batman shouted to her. Get him out. Now. Naruto and Bruce quickly moved to get to the two as Diana lifted John and flew to a nearby tunnel area. Batman quickly used his grappling gun and moved over to get the crystal, while the Hokage covered his back by placing aside his sword and firing more of his shuriken and kunai with the explosives on them. However, when the aliens quickly accessed the door controls, and before the two men could make it, they were sealed in. Batman used his taser to try to break through, while Naruto began to use his Rasengan, but it was not going well. The two turned and saw the aliens coming at them. This is not good. Naruto, however, was not giving up just yet, as he quickly formulated a plan that would get them out of here quickly. Diana was stunned at the fact that both Batman and the Hokage were not behind them, and she rushed back, shouting their names. Batman. Hokage. She however stopped as the sounds of laser fire came out and soon silence. No. Horror filled her at the fates of the two men, and she tried to help them, but was stopped by John as he recovered from the injury he got. No, there is nothing we can do for them. By Athena, you don't mean that they are gone. John's sad look was heartbreaking to Diana as she looked at the door and spoke. Hair, help us. Unknown to Diana, the two were not gone just yet, as Naruto quickly grabbed Batman, who still held the crystal in hand, and used the Kawarimi no Jutsu in time, and John had shielded the two from being detected. They would be the key needed to win this war, and as long as the enemy thought them dead, then they would have a chance. As soon as he used the technique, he and Batman were now among the aliens, and quickly fought back against the aliens to take them down. Apparently the aliens themselves were surprised as they thought that they had killed the two heroes, only to find them being attacked by the two very quickly. Batman looked at the group of aliens in surprise, not at the sight of them out cold as it were as he and the Hokage were the cause of the whole thing, but how he and the Hokage had appeared among them, just as it seemed they were about to be shot. He turned and was surprised to see that two of the aliens who had shot at them were now there with burning holes in their bodies, showing that they were the ones who got shot by their own allies. He turned to Naruto, and the blonde gave a nod as he decided to give some detail too. What happened? I did the same trick I did with your female partner when we first met, remember? Only in this case, I switched two of the ugly mugs with us so they go shot and not you and me. I used a different item in Batgirl's place when we met since it was the only one around. A ninja technique. You got it, but let's hustle. I doubt we're going to be alone for long. Hope you hold on to the crystal, Batman, cause it's time to get out of here. The two moved out and soon encountered a few more surviving aliens that they were quick to dispatch, and soon they arrived at a nearby wall. Naruto decided to get them an exit. Since he was still in Sage mode, he decided to quickly summon a Kage Bunshin as he turned Batman, who was a bit surprised by the technique, as he now saw himself facing two Hokages who quickly summoned two massive spheres of glowing energy. One of them turned to Batman and spoke to him. No time to explain, but enough time to make an exit. Move back, Batman. It's time to bring the house down. Naruto and his Kage Bunshin moved forward and soon smashed the spheres into the nearest wall, and the results were explosive. Naruto had decided that if he wanted to counter the aliens with his techniques, he was going to have to pump more power into his attacks. That would normally be difficult for a regular ninja, since chakra control was needed, but he had been alive for a while now, and his control was way better than when he was younger. The results of the attack were obvious as sections of the wall were blasted off, and large cracks were soon forming all over the structure. It also blasted away any of the aliens who were in the blast zone. The dual Adama Rasengan, which was a bit larger now due to the increased amount of chakra, made one very big hole to allow the desert air in, as well as the sunlight, and the two heroes were out of the building, and then they turned. The whole factory went down hard. Or at least half of it, while the other half suffered considerable structural collapse. It was here that some of the aliens were forced out into the light. They quickly screeched in fear as they sought cover, and the ones who were exposed literally began to have smoke come from their bodies. Naruto had not seen that before and was quick to comment on it. Now that's something. As the two looked at the panicking aliens, Batman was quick to note the reactions of sunlight on the aliens' bodies. He was quick to come up with a viable answer on why was it that the aliens were suffering severely in sunlight. They're vulnerable to UV radiation. That must be the other reason why they take great pains to avoid being exposed to the sunlight, and why their factories block out the sunlight when they landed on Earth. So I was right in thinking that they were not just nocturnal. So if this thing can make the cloud, perhaps we can make it do the opposite. Yes, since the crystal we have is the one that allows them to make that ion particle cloud, reversing its function should remove the clouds and give us a much better chance. The Hokage then spoke to Batman as he felt that the Dark Knight dot. Do you think that can be done? Batman nodded. I have the technology in my lair, but it will take me some time to get the process right. Good, I'll join you. Once we're done here, we can make our move on the aliens when we have that crystal ready. Back in Metropolis. The city was in utter pandemonium, as people rushed about. The police, fire department, and hospital services were doing their absolute best to keep things in order. But they were fighting a losing battle, as the more radical elements in society were taking advantage of the chaos. While the invaders had halted their actions and focused more on securing the area around their factories, they had made sure to send out recon teams every now and then, to squash any resistance that the humans could offer them, as annoying as it was due to the technological disparity between them. The military were doing what they can as well as the police and the SCU, but their weapons were not very effective in fighting the aliens, and this was not the same as with the dark side invasion, as the aliens were able to take solid hits quite well, though not to the level of superhuman strength. And with the riots going off at full swing, it was utter chaos, as both the military and the police were hard-pressed into maintaining order and fighting the invaders. Diana could not help but feel sickened at the sight of the people breaking down and turning on each other like this. Instead of working together to defend one another and fight the invaders with their military, the people turned on one another, looting, rioting, and more. The reverse side of such actions in this was appalling to the Amazon. She and John had gotten back from the mission in Cairo, and she had been saddened by the loss of both Batman and the Hokage, unaware that both of them still lived, and that John had secretly used his telepathic powers to shield the two from the enemy. She found Batman's skills and tenacity as admirable, while the Hokage's strategic skills, fighting prowess, as well as his manners and respect to her, were just as admirable. She also was intrigued by the powers he had under his command, as they were not in any way the same to magic. How he was able to use those techniques and somehow not be a magic user was a mystery to her. She looked on in disgust as the scene played on before her and spoke. I cannot believe that they are like this. Maybe my mother was right, mankind is not worth saving. I cannot believe that Batman and the Hokage gave their lives to save such people. John replied to that. Do not judge them harshly, they act out of fear and confusion, and do not have the means to fight back or the will to do so. I hope that mentally shielding the two will work. Their abilities and skills will be critical in saving this world. It was not long before they were joined by both Green Lantern and Flash, who had recently helped the police to try and keep order. Green Lantern was naturally the one who spoke. Sorry about being late, had to help rescue a number of civilians who were caught in a building with lost structural integrity. Would you call us back anyhow? Superman and Hawkgirl have been captured and are currently held in that factory over there. Flash quickly noted the absence of the others and spoke. Where are Batman and the Hokage? John was silent, and Wonder Woman was saddened at the mention of the two men, and John replied. They fell as heroes. That shocked Flash and even Green Lantern, as they knew that things were getting really bad. However, they had little time on their hands to grieve for the two, as John told them that the Imperium, the governing intelligence that led the invaders, was already on its way to the planet's surface. They soon broke through the outer defenses and made their way to Superman and Hawkgirl. But something bothered John at how light the resistance was, and his fear proved true as it was a trap. The ones they thought to be Hawkgirl and Superman turned out to be invaders, and they were soon knocked out and unable to fight. Outside, Naruto was quick to leap off the wing of Batman's fighter, as the two of them arrived back in Metropolis, but this time they moved the fighter a fair distance from the city, and soon began to move inside while avoiding patrols. The blonde had pretty much stayed out of the caves, seeing that Bruce needed to work, and him around was not good. Once they were done, or at least Bruce was done, they hightailed back to Metropolis. Naruto quickly turned to Batman as he carried the crystal in his hands, as the two of them moved closer to the target factory. But not before Naruto quickly released two Kage Bunshin on the fly, and sent them to the back to gather some extra nature chakra. You sure that device with those modifications is going to work? Yes, but we have no time to waste here. This device should be the key to removing the cloud cover that they use for their invasion to finally be a success. But I need to connect it to the crystal to have any effect, namely in the same place we found it from before. Then let's go to it. We got to find the others. Can you sense them? Naruto focused his senjutsu senses once more, and soon managed to locate the others, but the interference of so many of the aliens did not help matters. He focused a bit more and soon got a better reading as he spoke to Batman. I can feel them, but the number of aliens there in that factory is really making it a bit challenging. I am also sensing something really bad down there. I can wager a bet whatever it is that I am feeling is not going to be the least bit friendly. What do you mean? Whatever it is, I can say this much, it's evil, really down to the bone marrow evil. The two made their way to the factory with Naruto focusing on his senjutsu senses to locate the others. They kept out of sight as best they could, hoping that the shield was going to be enough until they could get within striking range. The two of them soon spotted the others, but could not do anything for them at this time, just as the alien impersonating Carter appeared. Earth's mightiest heroes welcome. So you're finally here, the one who took Carter's place back on Mars when you and your forces woke up. The alien impersonator was slightly surprised as Superman glared at him and replied, "Oh, you know who I am now? I am curious who told you that. No matter, you're all too late, this world will fall, and soon all of you will feed the Imperium." The Hokage and the Dark Knight spotted the alien vessel above, and spotted what appeared to be some sort of shuttle move away and enter the base itself. There the two spotted the Imperium. It looked like a massive violet jellyfish with black matter inside of it. The blonde Hokage was able to withstand the waves of evil coming from that monstrous thing. It resembled the zero-tailed demon that he faced when he first met Americhan, along with that demonic entity Moryu when he worked with Xianchan. And also that monstrous seawater thing that Orochimaru's former ally Amachi had summoned back when he was a kid. They had a chance to kill this alien right here and now, so they were going to do what they could. The two heroes turned to see John being tortured by the Imperium, but they were close already, and Batman readied the explosives he had. And Naruto was quick to take out a Fuma's shuriken, which had a good number of explosive tags stored in the blades. As soon as the weapon was fully extended, both of them looked at one another, and silently nodded as they got ready for action as John finally shouted, "Get ready." The second John shouted, the two heroes fired their weapons at the shield of the chamber. The combined attacks were enough to finally weaken the shield, and soon, the Martian lowered the shield on the two of them, and they were revealed to the aliens and the other heroes. Whoa, they're alive. Flash was relieved while Diana was amazed that they were alive. How did they make it back from certain death? John was the one to respond to that despite the fact that the Imperium was still trying to tear him to pieces figuratively and literally. I shielded them so they would not be found. Batman quickly moved with Naruto going alongside him to cover him. Naruto used a powerful chakra-enhanced kick to send the last alien nearby flying aside, as the Dark Knight placed the device through the now weakened section of the shield, and placed the device on the crystal, activating it. Soon the crystal's red color changed to blue, and the fluid inside of the chamber turned blue as well. The Carter Doppelganger was shocked and shouted at what was going on, and made that clear to the Hokage and Batman. "What have you done?" Batman replied in his usual fashion of being stoic and calm, before the odds that were there. "Reverse the ion charge, now this cloud is going to fade away." The leader of the aliens quickly shouted two simple orders to its minions. "Destroy the crystal. Kill them." Naruto looked at Bruce and spoke as he knew that he might want to switch to close combat work, to buy Bruce time to get the others free. "You free the others, I'll keep them off your back." Batman did not argue as the two of them separated from one another, as he quickly used his grappling gun and moved to the others, as the newly altered fluid continued to spread through the factory systems. The Hokage quickly moved and slid down as lasers were fired at him. He evaded the ones that he saw coming, as his Sage mode improved his speed a lot more, coupled with him focusing his chakra into his legs for extra speed and grip. As soon as he was halfway, he grabbed the two swords on his back as he leaped down in a graceful spinning flip. The people and aliens in the room heard two loud hisses as Naruto unleashed his blades, but they were glowing deep blue as he unleashed what appeared to large blades of pure air at the aliens below him. Several were quickly cut down by the wind blades as Naruto landed nimbly on his feet and quickly stood up and faced the alien forces carefully. They readied their weapons and aimed at him with the intent to kill. Naruto decided that now was not the time for words. Now was the time for action as he quickly took out one of his special kunai and made his move. The Hokage wasted no time and quickly threw the kunai towards his foes, and his target happened to be one of the aliens who was at the back. The kunai flew straight and true to the target, and that was when Naruto used the Hirshin technique. The aliens and the heroes only saw a brief flash of Naruto's blonde hair and his glowing swords before he vanished, and they only saw brief flashes of gold and blue in the area where the aliens were. Naruto suddenly appeared above the alien he had targeted with his father's kunai, grabbed the weapon with his free hand, and quickly driving a powerful heel kick into the head of the alien. Naruto quickly moved to attack with the kunai, which was soon coated in his chakra to stab into another attacker, and spun hard to avoid a nearby alien's laser bolt. The weapon missed him, and blasted the one he had stabbed with the kunai. He quickly rushed the alien and slammed a knee on the weapon to force it upwards, and he followed up with a powerful spinning back heel kick with chakra in the strike. The attack sent the alien flying as he was sent into several of his fellows. Naruto turned and rolled away as another alien came at him with blades extended to avoid a slash aimed to his neck. He quickly got up slashed with his sword on the side, while taking out his other sword to block another attacker. He quickly moved forward and lifted the alien off its feet, and as soon as it hit the floor, Naruto followed up with a stab in the face. Naruto readied his swords as he was soon shot at by the aliens, but he was not done as his speed was above par now, with chakra being fed into the legs for increased speed. He moved as fast as he could and moved to the shooters and flipped over them quickly, and landed behind them to cut them down with sweeping arcs, with his chakra-enhanced blades. He then moved to stab the last one with both, and then yanked both blades while flipping backward to avoid being attacked from behind by another alien, with more hands for attacking. The alien turned to attack Naruto as he landed, but Naruto quickly leaned backwards, and then moved to the side, while kneeing the alien at the side of its own body fast and hard to send it away, while quickly moving back up to then block another attacker, and then pushing him back with great force and launching a palm strike with the frog kata to send the alien back. The blonde shinobi was able to hold his own for a bit more, and soon more of the aliens were down and out, as he quickly lashed out with a surprising blast of pure wind on them. The wind struck like a whip of pure force, and sent more of the aliens flying backwards. Naruto turned and saw Batman working quickly on freeing them, and he was happy for that. Some backup right now was certainly more than welcome, since he was soon going to run out of senjutsu energy. But he placed his exhaustion aside, as he needed to focus on the here and now, as more of the aliens continued to attack him. He felt his nature chakra begin to run dry, and he quickly felt it being recharged as his last Kage Bunshin gave him the amount it had gathered earlier. He then moved to place one of his swords on his back in the sheath, and attacked with one Adamura Sengen that smashed hard into a large bunch of the aliens who were about to shoot at him with their weapons. He managed to avoid the hits and land the attack to send them splattering all over the place, and that was that for them, as he got ready for the next batch that was on their way to kill him. Kurama was ecstatic as he looked on and guided his partner. This was by far the best battle he and Naruto had been in for a very long time, and it was really making him feel very pleased. He had not yet been given the chance to join in, but he figured that since Naruto was doing fine on his own thus far, him coming to his aid was not needed yet. Batman looked at the battle as he worked on freeing the others. The Hokage's actions proved to be the key, as the aliens did not attack the Dark Knight of Gotham, as they were being kept out of the fight by the Hokage, and the shield that was on the converted ion crystal stopped the aliens from destroying the crystal. While he was freeing Diana first, he turned to see just what the Hokage's situation was, and he could see the blonde shinobi continue to hold his own and fight in ways that defied the conventional train of thought that one would have when seeing one who was supposed to be rather young. He certainly knows how to fight in such a situation. I wonder how it would have been had I been training alongside him back in my younger years. The rest of the heroes were also deep in their perceptions of the battle, as the Hokage continued to take down more and more of the aliens, while John continued to drag the Imperium into the light, as its skin boiled and bubbled, making the leader of the invasion force shout out more and more screams of pain, as sunlight ravished its form. How the heck is he moving that fast? Flash thought, as even he was having a hard time following the Hokage's attacks, as the former Hokage of Konoha cut down more and more of the aliens, as if they were moving too slowly. Sure, he was fast, but he was not that fast in close combat situations where space was at a premium, as it were. Plus that trick he did to only allow the others to see his blonde hair and those glowing blades was pretty damn impressive. He himself only saw brief glimpses of it. Whatever technique he was using was damn cool in his book. He looks like he's not even struggling to fight. It's almost like he's been doing this for ages. Hawk Girl was not lying, as she knew how to fight with hand-to-hand as well as with weapons, and she could see that the man was very well trained in the use of throwing and melee ranged weapons as well, and it was like he had been trained in how to use them for a very long time. That was something she had to respect, as she had faced few foes in her time back in the southern states who could come anywhere close to what she was seeing before her this moment. This guy certainly is anything but a kid. I've seen a lot, but this is certainly something else. Lantern thought, as he had never seen anything like this before in his career, both as a Marine and as a Green Lantern. The way the guy moved and fought was too powerful and precise to be human, yet too fluid and natural to be a machine. He could be a cyborg, but most cyborgs like Metallo were not as fast or powerful as this guy. And there was no way that any cyborg he knew of could have powers like that. This Hokage seems to really fight like a seasoned professional. Who is he and who trained him to fight this well? Superman watched the way the Hokage moved, and he could hear the man's heartbeat and breathing. The man was breathing like anyone would in a fight, yet he seemed to be relaxed as well. There was no panic or any of the usual signs. This man was fighting like he had been doing this all his life, like it was as simple as breathing and eating to him. What sort of battles did this man have if it was even a man fight in to be this skilled? He was no pushover, but there was a precision in the Hokage's way of fighting that made him seem more of a brawler than a seasoned fighter, which to him was certainly new. By all the goddesses and gods who reside on Olympus, this man fights like he was born to fight. He and his fellow ninja must be truly skilled fighters to have reached that level. And that power he shows, Mala sensed it, and so have I. Where is he drawing such power? Diana was impressed by the way the man fought, smooth, efficient, effective, and deadly. It was like a dance of battle before her. She had been trained by all the best trainers in the arts of war on Themyscira, yet this man fought like fighting was bred into his body and blood. She was very much amazed by his skills, and that was something, as she was an Amazon and had been taught by the best. Whoever trained him must be very powerful and experienced, and she hoped to meet the Hokage's teachers someday. The reverse ion charge was now in effect, as the factory unleashed beams of light out into the sky, as the clouds that held the world under a cloak of darkness began to move away and reveal the sunlight once more. The end results were there as the aliens quickly sought cover, and those currently fighting the Hokage pulled back, allowing him to use his shuriken and kunai in conjunction with his swords. John also managed to free himself from the Imperium's grasp and drag the creature into the daylight. The alien screamed in pain as the Martian taunted him while holding its tentacles, which had originally been in his own body. You hide underground and shun the light. Why? Does it burn your pale pewter skin? The alien screamed in pain as boils and steam came out from the alien leader, as more sunlight fell on it, much to Flash's disgust as he spoke. Now that is a major case of super strong sunburn. It was not long before the heroes were able to get into the fight. Superman managed to get a charge from the Son of Earth and used his heat vision to free himself, and he quickly tore off a large section of the floor and raised it as a shield to allow Bruce to do his work, and he held it up. Just as Batman finally Diana, Superman freed Hawkgirl with his heat vision as well. She in turn freed Green Lantern with her mace Diana, then freed Flash, as the speedster was now on the move to attack the aliens as well. The other heroes joined in as Hawkgirl used her mace, Flash his speed, Diana her strength, and Superman his own strength and heat vision that tore apart sections of the building to expose the creatures to sunlight. Naruto spotted 3 other aliens moving to attack Stewart, and he quickly pulled out a spare yet smaller Fuma shuriken from his weapons pack, quickly expanded it, and shouted to the Green Lantern, "Get down." Stewart did just that out of reflex, and saw the weapon sail over his head and slice into the heads of 2 of the aliens, and allowing him to unleash a powerful burst of his ring's energy, in the shape of a wall shield, and quickly used said shield like a battering ram to send them back into the wall. Face. He turned and nodded to Naruto as John quickly went back into the fight as he blocked another barrage of attacks, and cut down the incoming threats. The Hokage turned when his danger senses warned him of an incoming attack, only to see the Diana in front of him using her bracelets to block their attacks, and send them right back at their shooters. The Amazon princess turned, and spoke with a slight smile. "Now we are even. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.